Hey guys, it's Karalynn and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about getting shit done, like the sign says, or step 7 in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So step 7 is all about overcoming procrastination, right? We don't do things. And there is a couple of reasons why that he digs into in here, right? People who accumulate riches, in his words, are make decisions promptly and are slow to change them. And so there's a couple of things that go into making prompt decisions and not changing them. The biggest one is having a definite plan, which we covered in part 6 of Think and Grow Rich, is having a definite plan of where you're going, right? And so even when you have a definite plan, making a decision can be challenging. So in my experience, there's two types of people. Ones that think about it for a while, gather all the information, and then eventually maybe they'll act. The second ones are just jump and figure it out, right? I'm more of the second one. I think we all strive to be somewhere in the middle where there's some research done, but it's still a risk. And that's the thing about the decisions you make and overcoming procrastination. There's never going to be a decision or a step that you take that you are going to get rid of all of the risk of that decision, right? You have to jump into the decision knowing, hey, I'm taking a risk, but also knowing that when things don't go as exactly as planned, that I will be able to figure it out, right? And so really having that faith that no matter what happens, when you jump, when you take that risk, that you'll figure it out. I think that's a big part of it, right? Napoleon Hill also warns about asking others their opinions, right? And waiting for their response. And he says, like, if you have a mastermind of people who are headed the same way, it might be valid to get their opinions, but everybody else really asking for their opinions, sometimes it can, they might not give you the best advice because they're jealous of where you're going. They might really not understand your situation fully. They might be averse to risk, right? And so really the best decision making comes from inside and what you know. And I think as business owners, we know our businesses well enough and we know the risks that we can be willing to take and those that we are not. And so it really is a matter of making whatever decision it is, if it's tough, if it's not, and then jumping in and following it regardless of what other people say, right? And so not sharing fully what your ideas might be. And he goes back through history and points out, like, Ford, the original Model T, which was named at the time the ugliest car. And Ford, even though everybody was telling him to change it, he wouldn't change it until he absolutely had to. And he made a lot of money doing that, right? It might have been ugly, but it was still the only car out there and everybody bought. So, and then he gets into a lot of the detail of the founding of the country and yes, we have the people that signed the Declaration of Independence, but the risks that were involved in that actually started way earlier. And people were willing to risk their lives and their freedom by committing treason and going against, the English government. So yes, there's risk involved in every decision. And really, we overcome procrastination when we make those risks. We jump in and we figure it out. And what does he say? He says, deeds are what count, not words, right? And everybody's got an opinion. He says opinions are the cheapest, commodity out there, the most popular commodity out there. It doesn't mean they're worth anything, right? So I think as a business owner, we need to gather our information and make a decision and stick with it, right? And then know, yes, it's risky, but we're going to figure it out, right? So make a decision, jump on. There's risk in, like I said, there's risk in every decision. But if you know what your purpose is, you know where you're headed, that kind of alleviates not knowing what you're doing, right? A lot of times the decisions we make to do things that we're unfamiliar with, we don't know what we're doing. And at first we might be terrible, right? Like when I started this podcast, if you go back and listen to some of those first episodes, they were pretty terrible. And I'm getting better. I'm not 100%, but I took a risk in putting myself out there and putting this information out there because I think it's helpful. I think it helps business owners understand, specifically in the construction industry, but just generally, it's helpful information out there. And I think, procrastination comes in many forms. Not, like business owners not dealing with issues that they know that they're there, not knowing the right way to deal with them so they don't deal with them, and they just become bigger issues. We all have those, right? And so just thinking about it, making the decision and jumping in and going, right? What do they call it? Building the plane while you're flying. I am notorious for that. But I think it's worked out for the best, right? I got books, I got podcasts, run a pretty successful firm. So there's got to be, you make a decision, you take a risk, even though you're not 100% comfortable with, knowing it's safe, right? There are no safe decisions. And so I think it really comes back to having faith in yourself that you can figure it out, right? And no matter what happens, if it fails terribly, you're going to learn from it, right? Every failure is only a failure if you don't learn from it. You're going to learn what you did wrong, how to do things better, and don't be afraid to look at where it did go wrong, right? Dive in and see what's going on. Can it be fixed? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to make another change, right? On whatever that is. Like, making the risk to make your business more specialized, right? Like for me, there's tons of law firms out there. I've chosen to take the risk to specialize in construction law and dive all into that. I don't want to be, I don't want to be the general practitioner. I want to focus specifically on construction law. And I think a lot of construction companies too do a lot of handyman work or other work that's really kind of outside their purview to get the work. And it's a risk to make the decision to dive in. Okay, I'm going to do kitchen and bath remodels only. I'm going to do basement remodels only. I'm going to do, decks and outside only. And being really good at those few specific things, which has worked out for a lot of businesses, right? Or you can be like handyman and you can offer handyman services. Do that. But with that risk and being specified like that, you usually end up with a better level of clients, a better level of work on your side, a better product that everybody's happy with. So those are one of the decisions you can face. The risk too of another thing I just gave a talk on, offering subscription plans in your business, right? Although you have business coming in all of the time, but it's inconsistent. You never know if you're going to be booked out forever or not, but taking the risk on subscription plans, like what kind of subscription plan could your company offer, right? If you're doing the exterior of the house, it could be a quarterly cleaning and pressure washing. The same thing with decks, anything like that. If you're doing remodels, it could be, anything, any kind of appliance or anything, floors, tile, anything that has a manufacturer warranty is going to have some kind of maintenance involved to keep that warranty. So offering a subscription service to do that kind of stuff. So just really be creative. Don't be afraid to take a risk, kind of think it out, put a plan together. Subscription income is just another risk that you can take that will probably pay off in the long run. And just generally, if you haven't started that business, go ahead and take the jump in and figure it out. Marketing plans. There's so many risks we take on a daily basis as business owners. So think about it. Don't take too long to decide, and then jump in and then stick with that decision. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful on some ideas on how to overcome procrastination. I'll be by with some more solo episodes, and we're picking up the series on 50 state lien rights, so we'll see some more of those episodes. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I appreciate it.